Right, guys. Let's talk about my trading today. Some wishy-washy trading really today. Not very, I didn't catch anything um, financial that adds to my bank balance, which is a bummer, but my understanding is pretty good. And so we're going to talk about all that. So let's just take like we always do, is start on the higher time frame. We have got this buy primary down here all on its own. So I am expecting from what's relative to this chart for price to move back into this area of interest because we haven't formed another primary. We have formed though a sell primary right here. And what we're doing right now is after forming that sell primary, we're coming straight back into it. And we're likely, I think, to see this range probably hold because this range took liquidity. So it's like a lower time frame primary. So if we analyze this on the lower time frame, I'm going to guess that that shows up as a lower time frame primary. In fact, let's do it because what's the purpose of anything? And there it is, right? So this is the lower time frame primary that I was thinking we had. And as you can see, we had this range here, a buy range that broke structure on itself or here or here. It just broke structure. I would have liked to have seen it break structure here, but it didn't, and that's okay. So it's like a weaker looking, uh, primary. Sorry, that alarm threw me off there. A weak looking sell primary. So here's our regular order block, and here's that sell buy to sell that came in, creating a primary sell block. So this is the reason I believe that if we are coming back into here, this is where we're going to react from, somewhere in this sell zone. And prior to me putting that on, I'd already identified this block, which was a buy with the initiation, which turned into that primary that it identified here. So it was like I was just looking at something more macroscopic. Anyway, let's just flick back to that higher time frame. So we've initiated away from something daily, broken structure, come straight back into this zone, and it looks to me like we are sells all day long, but we're stacking here, right? They're not happy just to run it just yet. Now we could even come up here and break structure, take a little bit more before we run this. But what I'm saying is this is a stack for sells. We've got IPA, we've got a reason to come back down here. And this is the last known primary. So I think this is like likely to be where we will get an eventual reaction. I don't know how they're going to sort of play it down to this level, but once we do get back to here, I do believe that we'll have a reaction back up again. Whether or not it's break structure or not, or I don't know. It could just be up to here, and then we'll just keep initiating away. It just seems fishy that this is going on right here in this level. And like I said, this could be just initiating higher prices before it takes it, but it is definitely stacking on a higher time frame perspective. So there's how we're coming into it on the hourly, and also on the 5-minute chart, we're seeing just as we just discussed already, any kind of primaries that are visible. Here's one. Here's another one, which is sort of complex. And this is kind of sort of what I've sort of woken up into. I've sort of seen all this complexity down here, and it was kind of, took me a minute, not gonna lie, it took me a minute to really understand, or to attempt to understand what the fuck was going on, because it's like range, breaker structure, just took breaker structure, just tiny bit, another range, then an actual breaker structure, dips into a buy order block, pushes back up. You know, if you're not on your game and if you're not thinking clearly and you've got some coffee in you and whatnot, and you're feeling, you know, you're all set for the day and whatnot, had a morning meditation and got your mindset clear. If you haven't done all that, this is going to look very complex. And so this is how I interpreted it. Range, initiation, and I can see here there's a lower time frame, range initiation. So this is actually a primary as well. You know what? Let's just draw that in, because you know me and my primaries. I always want to know every single one. And so that kind of looks a bit like that. I'm actually expecting this primary here to become liquidity, the actual stack for this main primary, because it's a primary right above a primary. And that means typically, I believe that it will be the reaction will be coming from in here, or a big reaction of sorts. And like I said, if there's no reaction, I've said this before in other videos, if there is no reaction, it just sort of zips through, it will react after the fact. There will always be a mitigation after the fact of this somehow, whether we're going up or whether they're going to pull prices back down straight after. Okay, so analyzed all of that, right? And so here's my sell primary, and this is the one we got caught in today. And this is the zone that I was sort of like, well, if we've got no other reason to expect or to have a bias other than to keep selling, you know, sell, 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 sell. So anytime liquidity was taken from the top, I'm looking for sales. I'm looking for sales, 100% of the time. And I feel like you have to be like that because this is the bias. But you have to keep your wits about you. And I'm also thinking at the same time, we've got this buy block here. Right? Sell to buy comes in and, you know, you could say sell to buy that broke structure, you know, it's a valid sell to buy. It's got liquidity down here. There's stops for sure. And then it was this range here that puts in the new buy primary. And I wrote to myself, earlier, if I get this break of structure, this is my buy primary. It forms. And I wrote that because things are getting a little complex to see on this chart. And I just wanted to have a sort of a written explanation of what's going on. So I have got a buy primary now. It was a slow former, but you see how it was sharp in, sharp out, and then the rest was sort of accruing the position. Rim C off of this as well, and off of this one right here. And so that's where we're at right now. And so let's look at our trades for the day. No buys. No buys. No buys, of course. Why would I not be buying? Because I wasn't looking for a buy unless I'm coming out of a primary. Now I know that this was a range, but I didn't know we were actually buying just yet because I hadn't found or seen any buy activity like a buy primary. Even on the lower time frame, this was the only buy primary I'd found, and it quickly got taken. So it was kind of like, you know, here's our range. We could stack money below it. We came and grabbed it. This is 6:54 a.m. PST. Grabbed the liquidity, broke structure. How do we break structure? Just a tiny little nibble, and then what happened? Boom! That primary got wiped out. So obviously there was no trading. And just like I've been saying, ladies and gentlemen, right? Boom. Buy primary, or a primary has formed, and then it gets immediately taken out. Immediately taken out. And so what happens? Always, if you take out a primary, always, like this, it will mitigate. And so thinking that, oh, that zone's never going to get mitigated is bull fucking shit, because here's an immediate partial mitigation of this zone, leaving all of this left. And then what happens? Mitigation, break of structure, and then what? Mitigation. Doesn't this all make sense? Right? Here was the primary. Sorry, here's the primary. Primary gets whipped immediately. This here, I should be coloring this really, it would make more sense. But this here, taken, completely mitigated, leaving this unmitigated zone of primary that has to get mitigated. And then and they work on it fast here. So this isn't really mitigation, but it's partial mitigation. And then it's all this bullshit here, that actually is the mitigation for that sort of section of this primary. So even if we run through, we're always going to come back and grab it. And we don't know how much is in there. We don't know how many orders are in there that need to be mitigated in and out of, or position sizes added to, or whatever, you know, however they're doing things. All we know is what we see, and what we see is that when primaries get taken, they get mitigated a little later on. It's really what it is, a little bit of extra time. So anyway, from a buy standpoint, we've come into that higher time frame zone. We've reacted, we've bounced, we've broken structure. We're looking for buy primaries. This is the only one that formed, in my opinion. Range, initiation, break of structure, stack liquidity, came in, grabbed the liquidity from a buy block, beautiful, and initiated away. Here is my buy primary, right? So if price had to come back into here, yeah, I'd be looking for longs. It didn't. And so what am I doing? I'm looking for a new buy primary to form. Boom. Here it is, right? Buy primary has formed. Now what am I looking for? Any play off of here. In hindsight, I should have maybe had this. I think I was actually, I mean, this is so recent that I wasn't even trading at this point. I'd already stopped. But here there may have been an entry. How would I have entered? Hindsight is bullshit because it doesn't actually tell us anything. It just, you could just see me go, oh yeah, I would have entered right here with a quarter pip stop, and yeah, I went for the moon. Oh, well done, Gary. Yeah, you did so good. No, so we're not worried about hindsight too much. We're just worried about like what we might have done, like what actual like processes do we follow. We always enter under liquidity. Well, look at this. Here's a stack of liquidity, right? I'd have seen that, and so I might have been thinking this was the order block that was going to hold. And sure enough, it does, but it comes right to the edge. Think about what an edge does when it comes right to the edge. To me, it does two things. Yeah, it stacks liquidity, so it's kind of bearish in this instance because it stacks liquidity in this area to get ran, but it also takes out your retail investors. Think about it. If any retail investors got a stop here, like one tick below, this move here is going to take them out. So it's bullish and bearish. It's a bullish and bearish sort of sign in one go. But nevertheless, we formed this primary here. Let's come back into our 1 minute because we always want to try to find primaries at minimum off of 1 minute. And so why would we say that this is a primary? It's because of all of this, isn't it? Buy. And so this range here, while it's not very strong, because these buys only just broke sort of minor structure, they're working from order block to order block to order block to give us the clues, right? And so of course the whole time they're stacking liquidity. But this is what we need to see is this lower time stuff so we can actually get in into the market. There we go. All right. So buying. Would we have gotten in? Potentially. Would we have stayed in? Who knows? Gave ourselves a decent chance. Now we're back in here. What do I expect? I expect RIMC, range initiation, mitigation, continuation, which pretty much would look just like this, right? That's what is in my head. I'm like, well, I expect this range to fully break structure from up here. Now it's all about how can I refine that and find an entry. Well, let's do it real quick. Let's see if we can find one. Okay, what have I got here? An order block that pushed up and pushed through and then pushed up again. What does that mean? That means a transitional order block. It's a great location. It's a great location to be buying from, quite honest with you. Have I got liquidity stacked? Am I entering underneath liquidity? Yes. Is this a liquidity grab plus a mitigation? Yes. Do I need to do anything more? No. If this isn't enough to get you in, like right here, then what is it more that you're needing? Do you need to see a range initiation, mitigation, continuation to get you in? Maybe. Then how about this? Maybe you believe that this is the low. You saw a range initiation. It didn't take structure till here, right? So, or you could have said here, but that's weak. Let's say this was the RIMC that you're looking for. How about there? Could you enter here, stop below the most recent low? Yes. Do you need to enter under liquidity? Is that part of your trading plan? Then enter under here. range initiation, break a structure, adds liquidity, totally an acceptable entry. Whether or not you get it is relevant, right? It's whether or not you actually get something you think will happen is unknown. Is this the low? Is this a mitigation? I'm going to get to this in a second. A mitigation does what? Fast and furious away, takes out lots of order blocks in like 1 or 2 candles. Boom. That's a good sign that that's actually happening right now. So my bias is that that is a mitigation, and my bias is that we're going to come up and we're going to break structure here. That's my bias based on what I'm seeing. Could this also be a range, and they're going to attempt to maybe, let's say, break structure here, but they can't quite do it. Come down in and grab liquidity and go. Yes, that's a great possibility as well. All we can say is that we're likely to experience a reaction from here. We're having the reaction right now. We don't know if we're going to break. We don't know if we're going to break this side either. But this is the reaction. Okay, we are all having a reaction from this. And that is as much as we can do as traders, is to put ourselves onto a high probability standpoint that says, hey, I've identified something on the market that's of deep interest to me that I believe will work in my favor, or at least give me an opportunity to work in my favor. I think that's what this is. So on a buy standpoint, that's what I would be looking at right now. Now, sells are where I actually took activity today. So let's go in here. So as we already spoke about, we had this sort of complex thing happen earlier, a very complex range. And I did my best to understand it as best as I can. Ooh, excuse me. Jesus, I'm clicking all over the place. There we go. Right. So we've got this, buy to sell primary, because it took out something that actually broke structure as well. Another one occurred right here, takes out all of these. This is sort of more of a weak one, but it takes out all of these and we break structure here, and then it comes up, takes the liquidity and breaks structure. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a great sell zone as well. It's a big one, but it's a great sell primary. And so what I write here is we're currently experiencing a reaction out of the sell primary. Will it hold? The lower time frame analysis will help us, right? That's really what I'm thinking about as we enter back into this zone. Lower time frame is going to tell us whether it's going to hold or not, or whether it's, what's likely to have happen. So all the time, I'm trying to identify as much as I can. So I see a buy to sell. So I've got a range here that breaks structure, minor breaker structure. Then I see this range comes in, takes that liquidity and pumps down. And it created a sell primary within a sell primary. Yeah? This is already activated. So this is what I'm looking for. And look at the reaction. This is the first reaction we've had, and then this is sort of like take more liquidity, and then this is the second reaction. So I'm seeing that we've had a reaction out of this sell primary, exactly what I want to have see. Whether or not we're going to continuate and push and break structure, I don't know that at all at this point. No one knows that. Like, other than BFI, no one knows that. So we created that sell primary. Let's drop to a 15-second. So I believe I need to explain some stuff here. So then I'm seeing a range, initiation, break a structure, price comes back up. Does it grab? No, it doesn't grab, but it does come from in here. And I drew this little caret on here because I'm trying to explain to myself, right, that you don't always have to take liquidity in order to get involved in the market. Why? Because this is a RIM-C range. What does that mean? Range, initiation, mitigation, continuation. So that is what I'm looking for. But how often do we see a range, initiation, break a structure not hold out? They come up. In fact, yesterday, I think it was, right? And we came up to the second order block before coming down. So for me, I don't trade these anymore. I used to trade I used to call them range, initiation, break a structure, MC, right? That's how I used to write it. RI in brackets, BOS, close bracket, MC. And I'd have that all over my charts because I was like, that is an identifiable pattern. It's BFI, it's them trading, right? It's them shooting price. And so anyway, now I won't trade it. I'll actually wait and see what happens. And look at this comment here. I wrote, what does a mitigation look like? Again, I spoke about this yesterday, but a mitigation looks like a sharp in into your mitigation point and then breaks transitional order blocks, which are, here's a transitional, here's one, this higher time frame thing is one, here's one, here's one. These all become transitional once we slam through them. And it's the slamming through them, which is, to me, gives me the clue that these are mitigations. Mitigate, and then boom. This one, two, what is it? 1, 2, 3 candles takes out one little zone here, a second mini zone, this higher time frame zone. This is considered higher time frame on this in that perspective. So we've got 1, 2, 3 zones, another one here, 4 zones, 5 zones that gets taken. 5 sell to buys, mini ones, get taken out within just a couple of candles. That's a mitigation, and it's telling you the direction by its action. And so I wrote this, and I said, what does it look like? Sharp in, sharp out, takes out multiple opposing order blocks in a couple of candles with speed and aggression. Yeah, exactly what that did. I also, later on, as I was analyzing, I pointed this out again, where we saw these, this occur again. So as I'm seeing that, I'm going to myself, well, I want to get into the market, right? And when am I going to do it? And I always like to trade off of just primary. So I wait, and I've got a range, initiation, breaker structure, and then I see another primary form, and I'm like, okay, now I want to get involved. Now I want to get involved. How do we know that this is a mitigation right here? Same freaking thing. In fact, I should have had an arrow pointed down like this, because again, you've got one block taken, 2 blocks taken, a higher time frame looking block taken, this block taken, right? All happens in what? 4 candles, 5 candles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zones. And does it break here? Yes, it does. 6 zones, 2 of them are pretty big, get taken within a few candles, a very small handful of candles in comparableness to the amount it took to form all of it. Look, this started forming at this bar here, all of these order blocks that got taken in just like five or 6 candles there. So that's what I'm saying. So now we know, hey, we've got a mitigation. We've got this sell order block. We've got this buy to sell that breaks structure aggressively. This is another carrot. In fact, let's just slap one on, because this is sort of what gets me into my trade. Then I see, I think maybe I was on 15 or 5 second. I don't really want to go to a 5 second. There's not really much I can show you here, but other than this, I see this range initiation breaker structure, and I'm thinking to myself, well, hello, why have you done that? You've stacked liquidity right before this order block here. The only other order block I can see is here, or transitional ones over here. But with that speed and aggression, excuse me, with the speed and aggression, and because of, and this is the key, is this, because of this formation, the buy to sell and the break of structure, I'm willing then just to enter above here and to the next unmitigated order block to get a reaction. That's where my risk was. And so that's what I did take on risk here, 2 pip stop, and we got the movement down, right? I was actually quite happy with it. Quite happy with the way I traded this. Obviously broke even, but you know, very happy with that entry. Price then, also, even though that's a primary, you can also see it as a range initiation. And I believe there was a break in structure. Here it was, like a majorer, should use better words, but there's that break in structure, and here's a range, initiate break in structure. Here's another one, range, initiate, break structure. So again, even though I've entered here and I get taken out break even, it doesn't matter because I'm still seeing the bigger picture, because I'm understanding that this, realistically, all of this is just a break-in structure, a range initiation break-in structure that stacks liquidity into this area. That's all it is. It's just moving money. It's just people's stop losses. It's all they want to do is move your stop loss. Get your stop loss moved, break structure, get your stop loss moved, and then we'll come take it. Right? They don't do it all the time, just like I said, but they do it a lot. Now, there's that trade. I see this as a primary forming, and I'm interested, obviously. We've had a mitigation. You can see the arrows here again from this comment. How fast we're breaking this zone, these zones here. See the speed? It's very fast. So I just wanted to point that out. That is a good sign for mitigation. And my carrots here, I think they're called carrots is the actual term. My carrots are really what I put in here to demonstrate what I think are going to be the highs. Yes, these are definitely liquidity, but right now this is looking like what we're doing. Then I'm going to take these out because they're sort of blocking my view a bit of the chart. Then we get this range initiation breaker structure, lower time frame. Obviously, it didn't take out structure here. And then we get this primary form. I'm thinking to myself, well, that's interesting. We've got a primary form within a primary, or potential primary at that point. See, this hadn't closed, so it hadn't fully formed, didn't close until here. But we're seeing what's going on and expecting it to close. And I see a primary within a primary, and I'm like, that's cool. It breaks, and then very interestingly, I drew this over because I was like, did that just break structure? And I see ever so slightly, it did. Yes, it came to the high here, equal highs, but it was this candle here. And I wrote fishy. I go, that's not what I want to see. That's not what I expect to see. What the heck? You know, like that just took out a primary. That literally just took out one of my primaries. Even though it wasn't a break of structure primary, it's just weird. It's just weird. It's like we should be initiating away. Why are we taking liquidity from here in a primary creation? Something was up. Now we actually can understand what it was based on this, because now we can actually see that we were going long, like we were seeing on the other charts, right? So anyway, I'm like fishy. In order for me to get a sell again, I'm gonna absolutely have to take liquidity from above here, because I need to take out the fishiness. I need to get rid of that fish smell in the house, right? I don't like that fishy smell. Get rid of it. And so something funky was going on. I didn't know what. And so I was kind of thinking, well, as long as this holds here, this is actually the last place that we broke, before we broke structure. As long as this holds and say a primary forms, I'm in. And what do we get? Range, initiation, break structure, primary forms. And I'm just trying to get in at the very top of the primary. It wasn't like, I wanted to get in because, I'm trying to get in right at the very top. No. That is not it. It's just I'm seeing what's potentially happening here. And I think it was actually a full risk order. I had this order here right when price was down here. So this isn't my typical sort of entry that I take, but I just wanted to get into the market above this fishy nonsense and to see this range initiation and having money stacked. So I saw that there was money stacked here and here. And so knowing that, I was just like, I just want to see what reaction I'm going to get from here. I wanted to be into the market. And so that was a live order. And it did form that primary BE again because of, the immediate retracement. And I still didn't really understand at this time that we were going long. I understood it later on, probably by the time we were up here. That's when I started looking for my buys. Let's come in here. Where was it? Yes, it was. It was that break in structure. And that's when I'm starting to see that, oh, actually, I've got a primary. And so as soon as I got that break in structure, I got that primary. And look at this, you guys. Look at this beautifulness, right? From what we were talking about earlier. This is the mitigation, you know, like this is the mitigation, and we could have had an entry here. This absolutely could have been an entry. So I'm happy we discussed that and caught that live on camera, because it's this shit works. Like I'm just saying, like what we're understanding here and how we understand the markets with this primary stuff and whatnot, it does work, right? This stuff does work. So anyway, ignoring that, you just got to look at both sides of the market all the time. That's the number one thing I would say has helped me the most is actually doing this on my charts. Right? I do split screen. I've got obviously a large screen, right? And I do a split screen like this. And I do this because my chart gets so freaking cluttered with all the stuff. It's impossible for me personally to have one chart for one just buys and sells. I've tried it for months, years in fact. I tried it, and the moment I split my chart off exactly the same time frame, it doesn't even matter if it's not. I'm constantly flicking between 5, 15, 30 in a minute. Right? These are my time frames on the lower time frame that I use, and it's just nice. And sometimes, let's say if I'm focused only on the sells and I haven't got any buy setups, it'll be nice to have this on the 1 minute and then this on the 15 seconds. And then I can actually sort of see, you know, what's going on like that. So I'd say that was a big improvement into my trading. Anyway, back to the sells. Let's conclude this video. Get this video taken care of. So we've got an entry here, pushed up, had my little carrot here once we broke structure. So I'm fully expecting this to hold. What happens? We come up and we have that reaction out of that order block, the primary, right? Which is totally acceptable, totally expected. And this is exactly where you'd be wanting to get an entry. So if you guys were not in on this trade right here, which is sort of, I think, quite unlikely for anyone to get into, anyway, unless you know you're willing to risk like I was. Range initiation. What have we got here, guys? It's so freaking visible now to me. It's becoming much more visible. We've got a sell block right here. No one cares about that entry. Range initiation, break of structure. Most people, most SMCers will be like this. Why didn't it work out? Gary, why didn't it work out? It's because you become liquidity. Look at this. This is a RIM-C. This is a RIM, range initiation, break of structure, mitigation, continuation. This is exactly what I used to look for. Not too long ago. This setup right here, range, initiate, break structure, come back in, take me out, and then continuate in the direction that we were expecting. Now, I don't mess around with that. I just understand it, and it does work, but it just depends on the right situation. Range initiation, mitigation, continuation does work. It just depends. It depends on so much. You have to factor in so much. Look at this. This is the entry you wanted. This is the entry you wanted right here. So if you didn't get it in here, that's the one you want to take all day long, all day long. Take it on a risk as well. Cause it's the last known unmitigated, right? As long as this, and it didn't, you see that bar right there did not come into contact with this order block. So this is the last known, unmitigated zone. This is the last known zone that created liquidity, like actually decent liquidity. Pushes down. I mean, I know this did and this did as well, but this was the last. These are all mitigated. See, this touches this. This doesn't touch this. This is definitely unmitigated. But it was, as it was put, it was the quantity of orders that came in here, right? And so last thing I just want to talk about, and this is just because I just see it right now. What happens when it flies through? It flies through a tiny little touch of mitigation. Let's bring it down, right? It touches the mitigation right there and then flies through, flies down, comes back. Where does price come to? Here's another re-entry. You know, if you missed the top, this is how you could do it. You could be looking at, well, did we take out a transitional order block with speed and aggression? Yes, we did. How many did we take out? 2. 1, 2. Speed and aggression. We're working on this one, right? We're about to take this one out. And so as price is coming back up, you can always sort of see all of this and you can see, oh, look, there's a transitional. Maybe they want to mitigate that to before the market's going to fall over. And this would have been a great entry as well, right there. Right? Anyway, I say a great entry, obviously didn't work out. But who cares about that? If you're worried about, oh, it didn't work out, bullshit. You just follow your process, bro. You just keep following your primaries. You just keep following your process because that's all you can hold on to. I don't know if that's going to turn into a buy or not. I can't predict that. I'm not BFI. I'm not the ones actually moving the markets. I'm just the one observing the move of the markets and watching it happen and trying to get involved. Price comes back up, zips up to here, takes out. Okay, so that fishy nonsense has been taken out. And so now, right, I'm thinking to myself, we are still within this primary right here. We've made lots of primaries. We've done lots of different things. And yet we're still trading within this frickin' range. And it's held this entire time. Do you think there's some substance to that? Well, I do. And so as I see, and don't forget, all of these primaries, every single primary that forms also becomes liquidity for a new primary to form. That's important too. So this here could have become the primary that was going to form. And so do you understand that? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Like I wish I could, shit, maybe I should just clean up this entire, God, let's just do it. There you go. We're in this primary, right? And we know we're in the primary. Prices come up. We've got all of these range initiation, not mitigations, but we've got all of these like little room Cs. They're all over the place. I could draw them all out, but like, let's suffice it to say, this is the most obvious one because it's the most recent one. Oops. Top loss. There we go. Price comes in and mitigates into the order block. Now, something I talked about yesterday as well, and I'm going to talk about it again today. Look at this. Sharp up, sharp down. Sharp up, sharp down. What are these? Wicks. Is that actual mitigations? Is this where like they've accrued lots of orders and got in and out of lots of orders? Absolutely not. Up, down, up, down. These are liquidity grabs. What they're trying to do is get stops. They're trying to get all the stops, but these aren't actual mitigations, so to speak, quote unquote, from or like higher time frame order blocks. What they are is they're just pushing either liquidity into these areas, so people put their stops above it, but they're not spending time in the area actually mitigating. And so I guess that's actually a bit of a clue really for other stuff, but suffice it to say, I just pushed my arrow right the way through the wicks there. We went to a 2 minute. Let's try 3 minute. Yeah, now they're actual wicks. Wick, right? And here's an actual mitigation. We'll talk about more about mitigations another time because I can tell as well. I should have noticed this, but this mitigation here is actually pretty weak. And I'll tell you why a different day. We'll hold out for that for another time when we've got some more time to discuss it. Okay, so we've mitigated, and I'm thinking to myself, hey ho, we have just created a potential sell primary, right? What am I looking for? I'm looking for take out these with some sort of speed and aggression, sharp up, sharp down. This is not the greatest speed and aggression, but for the size of the order block with that amount of speed up, I'm actually still interested in this because of the size of the block, because I know to actually move down, we have to keep initiating. So when I keep seeing initiations, that's a good sign. That's a really good sign, because that tells me that, hey, we could actually be just whacking down here pretty damn fast. So I see these and I do my range initiation, notice that they're sell blocks, put my liquidity on there because they did break structure. Anytime they break structure, I like to put my liquidity. It's just a visual thing. So I put this on here, and we end up creating a potential primary, right? So I'm seeing this range. I'm like, well, this would be a great area to mitigate as well, like kind of the open of here. I believe it does touch the open and comes up above the liquidity in there. And then I see what? A breaker structure. So let's come down. So here's the actual mitigation that I'm looking at. Here's that stacking of orders, range initiation, break structure, hardcore liquidity up here. They mitigate, they come down fairly aggressively and take out that order block and take out these 2 or 3 order blocks. So I'm like, okay, this is my carrot on top. I think we're definitely in with a shot. And so my anticipation is that we're going to take out this primary. We're going to take out this low, which would conclude the forming of this primary. Doesn't happen, right? We get, I've got my entry above liquidity. Here's the only sort of range initiation break structure that I can see. I've got my entry right above liquidity, and I get snagged, and we start dropping aggressively. And I'm like, okay, happy days are here to stay. This looks like we're about to break structure here. To protect myself, I always think to myself, well, this is a primary that's forming. What do I want from a primary? Sharp up, sharp down, right? That's really it. And sure enough, we can go kind of like this, but we don't really want to be going, like reaction, pull down again, maybe take structure here. We don't really want to be doing these sort of complex movements away. This is more ranging than it is creating a sell, a buy to sell or something like that, or creating the primary in this instance. So I'm not real happy with price if it's going to come up above my the place I got tagged in. So I could go break even, but because 15 seconds, I'm on Oanda, my spread's funky at best, and because of that, I just wanted to enter above liquidity here and then keep my stop open, but like have it sort of like here. And that's exactly what I did. So this is like a minus 0.5 R, I think it was. So nothing really, didn't matter at all. And so that was the trade, right? That was my trade. And then by that point, we're here. By that point, we then get this breaker structure. And if I was still trading, I hope I would have done what we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Noticed that we were coming into a buy range and caught this lovely looking trade here. And look at this. Look at this beauty. It would have been a 2-pipper, and we're almost at 10R. So that would have been a really nice trade. With a bit more time, would have gotten it today. It's all good. It's all good. The thing I care about isn't actually about adding dollars to my bank account at this very time, at this moment in time. What I care about is about getting on the correct side of the market and understanding the correct side of the market, right? And why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's what's most important to me. And being on the correct side, or the correct intention, or understanding intention, however you want to say it, just getting on the correct side of the market puts you in such a fantastic position. So obviously I'm still learning. I'm not trying to be a fucking guru. I'm not posting videos because I'm trying to teach you anything. I'm just trying to post these videos because A, my learning increases when I do that, and B, maybe there is value that someone else will take from these at some point. So I want to be, I'm somebody who's learning to trade. I'm somebody who is learning to trade right now, and I'm in the thick of it, and I've been doing this for a long time now, and I'm committed and I'm serious, and this is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is the profession that's for me. I absolutely fucking love it, and I'm getting really good at it. I'm getting really good at it. And if you want, watch this channel a little longer and watch some more videos in the future, because you're going to see more stuff like this where I'm actually like hitting 1 to 10s. But I've hit so many 1 to 10s in my past too that they don't bother me anymore. It's not like, oh my God, yeah, I've just hit my 1 to 10. Ah! Go run around, scream, shout, go run around the house naked. There's none of that emotion anymore. When I very, very, very first started trading, I had to wear gloves because I'd start shaking. My hands got freezing cold and I'd start to shake because it was the emotions I couldn't really handle. I didn't really understand what was going on at the time. So, getting through and working through all your emotions is a massive thing. And that's exactly what I've been doing, for the last sort of say 3 years or so. I've been doing this for a while. But my understanding is on fleek. It really is. And, we're going to be catching moves like this more often. And, our understanding is just getting better and better and better. So that's all I got to say. Aloha, love to anybody watching this. I hope everybody's doing well, having a fantastic day. I hope you guys are making like serious R. I hope you guys are just living the dream, man, and just doing what you want to do. Don't sacrifice and don't change for anybody except for yourself, man. Just keep going, keep pushing. We got this. And as an aspiring trader to another aspiring trader, never, ever give up, bro. All right. Aloha, everybody. Peace out.